Chapter 1176. Damn it. Gu Mengmeng felt as though 10,000 beasts were galloping in her heart. If it was said that Sandy and Liana were females in the beast world and were used to keeping a cub as a partner, then Wang Xiaoxin was a real modern person and she was highly educated. How could she do something so immoral? Gu Mengmeng felt that she could not face Snake anymore. If she had known earlier, she would not have told Snake, "Your mother is a joker," back at the Snake King Valley. She should have said, "Your mother is a pervert, do you know that?" Gu Mengmeng had goosebumps all over her body, her face full of disgust. He sighed and relayed Joshua's words to Oratin without hiding anything. After she finished, she asked, "So, I want to make a trip to Fedaden City in the Mecca Desert. Can you lead the way for me?" Oratin turned to look at Leah, then at Elvis. Then, he nodded his head seriously and said, "All right, I will accompany you." After Oratin agreed, Leah then carried the stone pot to the table and scooped a bowl of meat for Oratin with a grin. "Here, you guys eat first. I will set up another pot to stew more." Oratin nodded. This was the first time Leah had treated Oratin so well that Oratin was a little overwhelmed by the favor. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. She knew that Oratin admired Elvis and even treated him as his life goal, following his way of living. That was also why he was willing to join Saint Nazir. But, it started with admiration and ended with the stove. In the end, the one who truly conquered Oratin was not herself, the messenger of the beast deity, nor was it Elvis, the spiritual role model, but Lee's big pot. Gu Mengmeng knew that Fedaden City might not be a hometown with good memories for Oratin, because when he heard the words Mecca Desert, he was obviously taken aback for a moment. That was not an expression that one would have for a hometown that was filled with nostalgia. But he was still willing to accompany her, probably because he wanted to learn more from Elvis and follow Leah to have meat to eat. As expected, to conquer a male, one must first conquer his stomach. After Oratin finished his third bowl of meat, his craving for food for the entire winter was finally alleviated. He felt more relaxed and finally had the mood to say to Gu Mengmeng, "But you have to be mentally prepared. Bayan has been hiding even deeper than Snakel all these years, it's not easy to find him." Gu Mengmeng thought about it. If he was Wang Xiaoxin's partner, then he should have met whales before. Then, having inherited the memories from Snake, she should have some impression of Bayan. But, why was there no impression at all? That was strange, unless Wang Xiaoxin had abandoned Higan before she mated with whales. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for her to have no impression of him. However, Gu Mengmeng had no interest in guessing the emotional entanglements from 1,000 years ago. After all, Wang Xiaoxin was half a mother-in-law to her. She was already involved in the relationship between Natalie and Peter, so there was no point in gossiping about the other in-laws. Chapter 1177. I advise you not to underestimate your enemy. Oratin poured a bucket of cold water on Gu Mengmeng. Although you have the powers of a beast king, the desert is not like this place. There are quicksand whirlpools everywhere. If you miss your step, you may be buried in the sand and not even your bones will be left. Meanwhile, the scorpion can move freely under the sea of sand. So even if you have the powers of a beast king, you may not be able to take advantage of that 1,000-year-old monster. Damn it, one really could not compare one's age in this beast world. How could they be thousands of years old at the drop of a hat? Despite her complaints, Gu Mengmeng still nodded. All right, I understand. Gu Mengmeng's appetite was limited. Elvis and Leah were counting on Oratin to lead the way for Gu Mengmeng, so they naturally would not snatch his food. So other than the small bowl that Gu Mengmeng ate, the rest of the food in the two pots went into Oratin's stomach. Oratin suddenly felt that it was not a big deal to return to that place. As long as there was meat to eat, it did not matter where he went. After breakfast, Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to the empty ground beside the cave to bask in the sun. Gu Mengmeng leaned lazily in his arms, squinting her eyes like a coquettish kitten. Why don't you meet the beast deity before Wabi arrives? On one hand, you can ask about the heart of the desert. On the other hand, you can meet that person in advance, so that Wabi won't pester you endlessly. Gu Mengmeng considered Elvis's suggestion and felt that it was very reasonable. Because of Oakley's matter, she received fatherly care and warmth from the beast deity when her heart was heavy. She should not only look for the beast deity when she needed it, but she did not know why it had developed into a situation where she would not go to the beast deity for no reason. It seemed like she would only return home to show filial piety to her parents when she needed to collect money. Gu Mengmeng laughed softly and shook her head slowly. What are you laughing at? Elvis curled his lips and asked softly. Gu Mengmeng replied, I was reprimanded by my father the last time I went back. Beast deity. Elvis frowned. Another opponent he could not defeat or even defeat. He clearly knew that Xiao Meng had been wronged, but he did not even know how to find her to vent her anger. A deep sense of helplessness washed over him. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and kissed her. Sorry, you have been wronged. Gu Mengmeng smiled and shook her head. What's so bad about being scolded by my own father? There is a saying where we come from that goes, a dutiful son is born under the rod, spare the rod and spoil the child, and a loving mother spoils the child. My father only said a few words, and that was already considered polite. I used to have a classmate who accepted a confession from a boy in her class in her second year of high school. When her mother found out, she rushed to the school and slapped the boy in front of the whole class. She pulled the boy by his hair and brought him to the principal's office to transfer to another school. That night, she left our city. She changed her phone number and all her contact methods. It was as if she had vanished from the face of the earth. That male didn't resist. Once again, Elvis felt that the males in that world were so useless. Chapter 1178. To Elvis, he could never understand what the males in that world were thinking. Since he did not like females, why would he go and provoke them? If he liked them, why would he bear to let her suffer like that? Sighing, Elvis didn't continue asking about Gu Mengmeng's classmate. He just hugged and kissed Gu Mengmeng. Then why didn't you tell me that you were reprimanded by the beast deity? Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Because father did not reprimand me too harshly. I just acted cute and got away with it. Why did I come back to complain about it when it was not painful? Tell me, what did the beast deity say about you? His precious baby, whom he could not bear to say a harsh word about, was scolded by others. Even if it was the beast deity, Elvis could not tolerate it. Although he could not do anything to the beast deity now, wouldn't he still die one day? When he died, he would return to the beast deity's embrace. By then, Gu Mengmeng didn't know what Elvis was thinking. She repeated what the beast deity had said the other day about her being a daughter who had been married off. She had forgotten about her father after getting a husband. Although it was not serious, Elvis still kissed Gu Mengmeng with heartache. Can you negotiate with the beast deity to let me follow you the next time you meet him? If he is unhappy with you, he can vent it on me. I will let him hit and scold me as he pleases, all right? How can we be together when we are dreaming? Gu Mengmeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My father is a deity after all. He won't abuse me. Don't worry. Elvis didn't say anything. He just sighed. His heart was in his throat the moment Gu Mengmeng went to see the beast deity. Gu Mengmeng knew what Elvis was worried about. She caressed his face with her little hands. I will ask my father when I go over. If there is a way, I will bring you and Leah back to be his live-in son-in-law. All right, all right. Elvis placed his forehead gently on Gu Mengmeng's. He was full of indulgence. Leah came to Gu Mengmeng's side after greeting Orton. He asked lazily, "What do you plan to do with the one in Maya's stomach?" That's right, the way to deal with that stomach had to be decided as soon as possible so that Leah could make the necessary arrangements. Even though he was Cole's son, no matter how bad his parents were, the little boy who was not even the size of a soybean was innocent. Even the triads knew that one's wife and children should not be implicated. There was no reason for Gu Mengmeng to not tolerate Cole and Maya's children just because she hated them. But, if the biological parents wanted to kill their own children, Gu Mengmeng did not feel that she had the right and obligation to stop them. After all, if someone stood at the entrance of the obstetrics and gynecology department and preached that every life should be treated with kindness to every patient who was about to undergo an abortion, they would probably be arrested by the Qingshan Mental Hospital. She didn't have the right to decide, but regardless of whether the child was born or not, she would be the one to clean up the mess in the end. This was so frustrating. What right did he have? She wasn't the one who got Maya pregnant. Gu Mengmeng frowned in disdain. Every time she felt that Cole was extremely disgusting and could not be any more disgusting, Cole would come up with a new trick. It was as though he was smiling at her and saying, Hey, are you looking down on me? I can be even more disgusting." Chapter 1179. Gu Mengmeng glanced sideways at Leah. "What? Throw Maya into the well and drown her." Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's little nose. "You want to waste a well just for Maya? Aren't you being too wasteful, Mengmeng?" "Then what should I do?" Gu Mengmeng asked. Leah smiled, a crafty glint in his eyes. He looked like a leisurely fox. Although he looked lazy and casual, he had already schemed against her from start to finish. "Mengmeng, do you know when stray beasts are usually the most aggressive?" Leah asked softly. Gu Mengmeng replied. "Probably during the rainy season, when winter is approaching. They snatch food quite fiercely." Leah nodded. "What else? What else?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head in confusion. "And when winter has just ended?" Leah chuckled. "The females snatched back last year could not survive the winter. They either froze to death or starved to death, or became food for stray beasts. So after winter ends, stray beasts would attack tribes at all costs to snatch new females. In the past, they always chose to do so during beauty pageants, because the strongest warriors in the tribe would be escorting the tribe's #1 beauty to the pageant. So it was the easiest time to snatch the females. But ever since you reformed the beauty pageant system 2 years ago, this opportunity no longer existed. So last year, the stray beasts attacked the tribes the moment winter ended, catching all the tribes by surprise and snatching away many of their females." Gu Mengmeng listened for a long while before gradually understanding. "You found someone to disguise as stray beasts to attack tribes and snatch Maya away?" Gu Mengmeng asked. Leah shook his head. "There's no need to disguise. Just ask the real stray beasts to come and snatch her away." Gu Mengmeng was confused. Cole is the leader of the stray beasts. Why would the stray beasts go against his wishes to snatch the person he planted? Leah coughed softly. Hiding his smile, he said, "Have you forgotten that we still have a stray beast young master in our family?" Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment. She widened her eyes. "You mean Qi Xian?" "No way. I don't agree. I definitely cannot let Qi Xian have anything to do with Cole. Qi Xian is now in Zacharias, which borders the stray beast camp. If Cole wants to contact Qi Xian, it will be much more convenient than before." Leah explained slowly to Gu Mengmeng, "So for this matter, we are mainly testing Qi Xuan's attitude. If Qi Xian is willing to help, it means that he is no longer under Cole's control. It's just that a bewitching spell cannot be undone for now and we cannot kill Cole. But if he is still on Cole's side, then we don't have to look for the heart of the desert anymore. We can set off for Zacharias immediately." Even if we have to tie him up, I will help you to tie your son up and not let Cole touch a single strand of his wolf hair. This. Gu Meng Meng was still very hesitant. Humans were always so contradictory. She wanted to know the outcome but was also afraid to know the outcome. Gu Meng Meng could still clearly remember the look of despair in Qi Xuan's eyes when she had cast a bewitching spell on him to make him forget Cole. She really didn't want Qi Xian to look at her like that ever again. I think Li's arrangement is right, Elvis agreed. Gu Meng Meng bit her lower lip. 2-1, they had won. Alright, but we must not let Qi Xian get hurt because of this. Gu Meng Meng added. Chapter 1180. Gu Meng Meng sent an eagle owl to Zacharias to deliver the letter. This round trip would take 2 to 3 days. So Gu Meng Meng followed Elvis's instructions and made use of this time to look for the beast deity. By the time she woke up, Wabi should have arrived and the eagle owl she had sent to deliver the news should have also returned. This way, she could first settle Maya's matters before deciding whether to go to the Moda Mountains or the Mecca Desert first. Elvis placed Gu Meng Meng in the cave. Leah would change the beast skin on her bed 3 times a day, so when she went to bed in the morning, afternoon and night, the bed's skin would always have the smell of sunlight and a warm touch. Holding Gu Meng Meng's hand gently, Elvis kissed her forehead and said, "You must remember to ask if you can bring me along." Gu Meng Meng nodded and slowly closed her eyes. Layers of white fog blurred her vision but Gu Meng Meng no longer felt uneasy and at a loss. Indeed, the beast deity was standing in the depths of the clouds, waiting for her anxiously. Gu Meng Meng smiled sweetly and pounced into the beast deity's arms. She called out softly, "Daddy, I am back to watch television with you." The beast deity opened his arms and hugged Gu Meng Meng gently. Then, he patted Gu Meng Meng's head twice and said, "Good girl, welcome back." Gu Meng Meng held onto the beast deity's arm and looked up with a smile. "Daddy, can I bring my hubby back next time?" The beast deity was still smiling. With the kind of benevolence unique to deities, he nodded and said, "You can come here when your abilities reach the level of a beast king." Gu Meng Meng nodded and understood a little. She had met the beast deity for the first time after inheriting Snake's abilities. Snake was the only old friend she had seen here. The beast deity led Gu Meng Meng to sit on a wooden chair. Then, he patted Gu Meng Meng's little hand and said, "But won't that little wolf go crazy when he watches television? What if there's some mosaic content?" Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. This was a serious problem. Elvis had a serious knot in his heart towards Snake. The last word Snake said to Elvis was so weak, and this word was like a nightmare in Elvis's heart. Whenever Gu Meng Meng made a slight mistake, he would recall Snake's words and expression at that time, and then he would blame himself endlessly. Even in his dreams, he wanted to defeat Snake to break this curse and prove that he was not weak and could protect Gu Meng Meng. So, if Elvis were to see the contents of the television series, would he directly rush into the screen to compete with Snake? She had a premonition that Elvis would be even more excited when he saw Snake than when Wabi saw Snake. But, Gu Meng Meng laughed softly. It seemed like she had to put love of the sky aside for now. Ling Spirit, Elvis Snake, Mo Clan Stone How, Dragon, Deity How, Shenlong, he said, "Moo." With this understanding, Gu Meng Meng felt that at least she had a clear sense of direction and did not need to be so conflicted anymore. She wrapped her arms around the beast deity's arm and asked, "I remember that the previous episode was about them sharing the same bed. Are you sure there won't be any scenes that need to be censored? This is a pure idol drama after all." The beast deity nodded solemnly and said, "Don't worry, I've seen the trailer. There's no need to censor anything." Gu Meng Meng smiled and gestured to the beast deity to start acting. Chapter 1181. The beast deity waved his hand and the familiar screen appeared in front of Gu Meng Meng. The morning sunlight shone through the bright glass into the room. On the king-sized bed, Elvis was hugging Gu Mang Mang. His arm rested under her neck, then bent toward her, leaning over her shoulder. Snake could not sleep at all that night. This was the first time he was hugging Gu Mang Mang to sleep, and he could not suppress the excitement from night till dawn. In the beast world, because his body was too cold, he had to expose himself to the sunlight to let his body burn in pain before he could hold her in his arms for a short period of warmth. But now, his body was as warm as hers. He could finally hold her in his arms without worrying that his coldness would make her feel uncomfortable. The corners of Snake's lips curled into a beautiful arc. He could not suppress the curve of his lips. Ever since this little thing returned to his side, Snake realized that the corners of his lips had gone out of his control. Regardless of whether it was going up or down, it was all due to Gu Mang Mang's actions. Another part of his body belonged to her. It felt so good. He raised his right hand gently to block the sunlight that landed on Gu Mang Mang's eyes. Seeing that her little face looked transparent under the morning sunlight, Snake's eyes were filled with unconcealable adoration and tenderness. Gu Mang Mang let out a soft sound. This was the prelude to waking up. Snake put down his hand gently and pinched Gu Mang Mang's face. He then leaned over and kissed her eyes. "Darling, time to wake up." Gu Mang Mang was still drowsy and her mind was not very clear. She replied in a daze, "Good morning." After saying that, she was stunned for 2 seconds. Then, she jumped up out of reflex and took a few steps back, falling onto the ground with a thud. Snake was caught off guard by Gu Mang Mang's actions. He did not know that Gu Mang Mang would suddenly break free after a gentle good morning. He could not stop her in time and could only watch as Gu Mang Mang fell to the ground. Tu Mang. Snake's heart tightened and he immediately flipped over to carry Gu Mang Mang up from the ground. His heart ached as he looked at the dazed Gu Mang Mang. Unable to reprimand her, Snake could only feel his heart aching. He carefully checked Gu Mang Mang's body. Luckily, she had fallen backwards and only her buttocks were injured. However, her palms were slightly red from rubbing against the ground. Gu Mang Mang was in a daze for a long time before she realized, "There's a guy beside me. And *CK, it hurts." She snapped out of her emotions and remembered that she was the one who let Snake in and agreed to let him sleep on the same bed as her. Initially, she was still nervous and uneasy as she guarded against him, but Snake was indeed very obedient. As she guarded against him, Gu Mang Mang fell asleep unknowingly. Gu Mang Mang despised herself in her heart. Luckily Snake was a gentleman, or else she would have been devoured by him for her carelessness last night. Just as she was about to say something, she realized from the corner of her eye that she had dropped the lamp at the head of the bed. Now, the corpse was lying on the ground in 3 pieces. The base and the lamp were all separated. "Senior, I broke your lamp." "I'm sorry, how about deducting it from my salary?" Snake frowned. "Let's not care about the lamp first. You threw my girlfriend, how are you going to pay for this?" Author's words. Chapter 1182. Gu Mang Mang blushed and her heart was about to explode. She instinctively pulled back her hand and said, "I didn't do it on purpose. I woke up to find a guy beside me. I was scared." But Snake did not let Gu Mang Mang pull her hand away from his palm. He moved her wrist around to make sure that she did not hurt her bones. Then, he kissed it and said, "I am your boyfriend and also your dog. Why are you afraid of me?" She used to be afraid of snakes, but he was no longer a snake now. Snake was a little disappointed. He did not like her to be afraid of him. Gu Mang Mang cleared her throat and turned her face to the side. "I am just not used to having someone beside me suddenly. Then, next time. Don't sleep on my bed and I won't fall." But Snake did not let Gu Meng Meng finish her sentence and interrupted her. I will hug you tighter next time and not let you fall from my arms. But you have to quickly get used to having me by your side, understand? Gu Meng Meng was stunned for a long time to digest Snake's words. Did he mean they were going to sleep together in the future? Gu Meng Meng looked up at Snake and said, No, you can't sleep on my bed every day. Snake smiled and nodded. All right, I will return to the master bedroom to sleep tonight. Gu Meng Meng was about to nod when Snake added, You will come with me. Gu Meng Meng's nodding froze on the spot. I am not going, you can go back to your own room to sleep. Snake narrowed his eyes and looked at Gu Meng Meng. So, you want to sleep with me and not take responsibility? Gu Meng Meng stared at Snake with her beautiful eyes wide open. She was shocked. Snake lifted his chin and said, You and I, a man and a woman lying on the same bed for an entire night. Do you think anyone would believe that we are just chatting under the blankets? Gu Meng Meng felt that her tongue was tied. She had met a scammer, right? Right. Snakele pulled Gu Meng Meng into his arms and said, I am a normal man with normal physiological needs. Because I cherish you, I will endure this desire before we get married. However, you have to give me the benefits that I deserve. Otherwise, it would be too cruel, wouldn't it? Tu Meng, the future that I look forward to is to see you and the sun every day when I open my eyes. Snake kissed Gu Meng Meng's forehead and said, Satisfy me, all right. Actually, Snake had a backup key to every room. Even if he forced his way in, Gu Meng Meng did not have the ability to reject him. But he didn't do so. He chose to coax her and ask for her consent. He could have gotten what he wanted simply and crudely, but because he cared about her feelings, he chose to use a gentle method. Gu Meng Meng laughed softly. She felt that she might be the easiest girl to win over in this world. If you smile, it means you agree. You can't go back on your word, got it? Kissing Gu Meng Meng's head as a reward, Snake carried Gu Meng Meng to the washroom and placed her on the sink. Then, he wet a towel and helped her wash her face. I can do it myself. Gu Meng Meng was not used to this kind of care. Chapter 1183. After washing up, Snake carried Gu Meng Meng to the dining room and placed her on the chair beside the dining table. Then, he entered the open kitchen to prepare breakfast for her. Gu Meng Meng held her chin and tilted her head to look at how Snake was handling the kitchen with ease. She could not help but think, you and Sunshine are both here, so this is how it looks like. Yeah, so blissful. Blissful like a dream. Senior. Gu Meng Meng called out softly. Snake looked up and his gaze landed accurately on Gu Meng Meng's face. He smiled and asked, Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, Dating you is too blissful, I feel like I don't have to do anything. When she signed that contract, Gu Meng Meng still felt that she had signed a contract to sell her body and would be exploited like a servant. But Gu Meng Meng did not dare to say anything. Snake was even happier because of Gu Meng Meng's words. He said, Marrying me is even more blissful. After marriage, you just have to be responsible for being as beautiful as a flower. What about you? Responsible for earning money to support the family. Gu Meng Meng blurted out. Snake chuckled. From yesterday till now, he had mentioned marriage from time to time. His motive was to instill in Gu Meng Meng's mind that marrying him was a matter of course. Obviously, he had succeeded. Gu Meng Meng herself did not realize that she had silently agreed to marry him in her heart. No. Snake said softly. He placed an exquisite Western dish in front of Gu Meng Meng. He leaned against the table and whispered into Gu Meng Meng's ear, I am in charge of arranging the flowers. Pfft. Gu Meng Meng choked on her own saliva. She stared at Snake with her beautiful eyes. Male god, you have to maintain your image as an ascetic. He was like an ice mountain that could not be reached. All the famous beauties in the school had sent him love letters but were all ignored. The school hunk, who was said to like men, actually spoke dirty words. What happened to being a high mountain flower that was above the common people? Snake loved Gu Mingming's adorable look. He wiped away the saliva on her lips from her coughing and said innocently, I endured it when I was in a relationship. There's no reason for me to endure it after marriage, right? I'm not a teenage mutant ninja turtle. Gu Mengmeng was tickled by Snake'll. His straight face talking nonsense was really too out of place. It was definitely a cute contrast. Hurry up and eat. We still have to go to the company today. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head, not daring to make eye contact with Snake, afraid that he would say something shameless again. Snake stopped teasing her. After all, it was not good to choke while eating. So Snake sat on Gu Mingming's left side and stretched out his right hand with his palm facing upwards. Tu Meng. Gu Mengmeng glanced sideways at him. Seeing him retract his fingers, she understood what he meant and automatically placed her hand in his palm. Then, she watched as he used his left hand to eat in satisfaction. He was really, his left hand wrote, his left hand ate, and his left hand did everything. His right hand was specially used to hold her hand. Chapter 1184. After yesterday's meeting, the management had thought that the CEO hugging a woman for a meeting was already a new worldview. They did not expect today's meeting to be even more awkward. Crunch, crunch, try it, this pistachio is quite delicious. Snake used his left hand to pinch open a pistachio and tossed the shell to one side before sending the kernel into Gu Mingming's mouth. Gu Mengmeng felt that she was about to be burned by the stares of the management, but Snake did not feel it at all. He looked at Gu Mengmeng expectantly and asked, "Do you like it?" Gu Mengmeng nodded and Snake took another one and started peeling it. Gu Mengmeng took the pistachio from Snake's hand and said, "Focus on the meeting, I will peel it myself." Snake narrowed his eyes. He did not like Gu Mengmeng rejecting him. He liked to peel the fruit for her. Gu Mengmeng knew what this master was thinking about again. She smiled in an ingratiating manner and said, "Focus on the meeting. The earlier it ends, the earlier we can go home. I will peel it myself, mmm. Go home earlier." These 4 words pleased Snake. Snake nodded his head reluctantly. The moment his gaze shifted away from Gu Mingming's face, it turned cold and sinister. He looked at the director who was giving his report without a single hair out of place. Then, his left hand tapped lightly on the keyboard. He was decisive and did not hesitate at all. His judgment was shockingly accurate. As a result, the situation became awkward. Other than the rustling sounds of flipping through documents, Elvis's typing on the keyboard, and the crunch sounds of Gu Mengmeng peeling pistachios, Gu Mengmeng felt like she was about to break down. She had thought that eating 2 would be enough, but the moment she stopped, Snake immediately turned around and asked, "Why aren't you eating? Are you tired from peeling? Let me do it." No, I just want to drink some water." Snake opened the bottle on the meeting table and handed it to Gu Mengmeng. His expression as he watched her drink the water was so sweet that it was scary. The management looked at each other. Was this idiot sitting at the head of the table smiling as he watched someone eat pistachios and drink water really their high and mighty CEO? Was he a sperm bank? Gu Mengmeng had a whole morning of happiness, while Snake, on the other hand, because Gu Mengmeng wanted to go home earlier, compressed the originally fast-paced problems into an even crazier manner, and finished them all in one morning. At noon, he did not want Gu Mengmeng to eat takeaway again, so he directly brought her home and personally made lunch for her. Gu Mengmeng felt that although her superior was her boyfriend, he should not be a leech, right? So she volunteered to wash the dishes, but Snake smiled and said, "Your beautiful hands are not suitable for work." But I can't just do nothing every day. Gu Meng Meng felt a little helpless and said, "It's a monthly salary of 4,500, I feel guilty taking it." Snake thought for a moment and chuckled. Then, he pulled Gu Meng Meng behind him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Then you can hug me." Gu Meng Meng nodded. "Huh?" Gu Meng Meng was confused. Snake chuckled. "This is an important job that no one else can do besides you. In the future, when I wash the dishes, you can hug me from behind." Chapter 1185. In the afternoon, Snake hugged Gu Meng Meng and asked, "Let's go on a date, alright?" Gu Meng Meng chuckled at Snake. "Can you go out as you please?" Snake countered, "Why not?" Gu Meng Meng said, "Yeah, in the novels, when the CEO is too famous, he will be surrounded and blocked whenever he goes out." Snake pinched Gu Meng Meng's little nose and said, "There are very few people who know that I am the CEO of Monsieur, and among those who know, no one dares to announce my identity other than you." Therefore, his fame was probably only limited to the swimming competitions he had participated in over a year ago. Do you think there would be people chasing after a city-level swimming champion? Gu Meng Meng thought about it. So what if Snake was handsome? When she first found out that he was her senior in the same school, she only sighed and said, "Wow, there's a celebrity in the school." She never thought of chasing after him. But thinking of Snake's first practice after he reformed the basketball club, Gu Meng Meng felt that there were too many idiots in this world. Who knows, there might really be someone who squinted at his swimsuit photo. He did not know what she was thinking about, but seeing that she did not speak, he took it as a yes. So, he pulled her little hand and kissed it, asking, "Where do you want to go to play?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head and wanted to tell him to forget it and not to go out. But Snake understood that Gu Meng Meng did not have any particular place she wanted to go, so he said, "All right, I will arrange it." Gu Meng Meng, forget it. He was the CEO, so he had the final say. Snake chose a couple sportswear and changed into it before bringing Gu Meng Meng to the amusement park. Yes, without any surprises or suspense, Snake had reserved the entire place. Gu Meng Meng stood at the entrance of the amusement park and watched as the employees shouted out the welcoming slogan in unison. She was once again thrown into disarray. Why don't we call a few friends over to play together? Gu Meng Meng tried to test the waters. Elvis frowned, he wanted to be alone with Gu Meng Meng. But facing her expectant and nervous gaze, Snake sighed and compromised. He took out his phone and dialed Zhang Jin Chang's number. "All club members, amusement park, 20 minutes. With that, he hung up. Gu Meng Meng stared at Snake, dumbfounded. "Can he understand what you said?" Snakel said, "The time, the person and the location are clear enough. Even if he's an idiot who didn't manage to score double digits in his Chinese exams, he should have the most basic understanding." Gu Meng Meng was speechless. If she was Zhang Jinqing, she would definitely not understand what Snakel was talking about. But he had already compressed his work to the maximum just to accompany her on a date. Gu Meng Meng did not want to spoil the atmosphere of a first date, so she could only smile and say, "Then can I also call a few friends over?" Snake raised his eyebrows and said, "You want to call your roommates?" Gu Meng Meng nodded. Snake did not say a word. He just placed one hand on Gu Meng Meng's shoulder and gently pulled her into his arms. He kissed the top of her head as a silent agreement. Gu Meng Meng then took out her cell phone to pass to Bailon. "Bailon, are you free? Do you want to come to the amusement park?" I'll introduce my boyfriend to you." Chapter 1186. Gu Meng Meng smiled awkwardly. When she wanted to speak again, Bailon had already hung up. Gu Meng Meng sneaked a glance at Elvis before whispering, that. Bailon is a nice person, just a little hot-tempered. She has no ill intentions, I know. Snake rubbed Gu Mingming's little head gently. He knew that this Bailon was Gu Mingming's friend since high school. She had fought with others more than once for Gu Mengmeng and was a very loyal lady. Every time Gu Mengmeng decided to swallow her anger, she would be the one to grab her arm and rush out to tell her, "I'm not dead, no one can bully my girl." Once, in order to help Gu Mengmeng ask for a salary, she was beaten up by the restaurant's security guard and had to stay in the hospital for 2 months. Even now, there was still a scar on her back. Snake found out about this through Gu Mingming's memories, because at that time, he appeared in front of Gu Mengmeng covered in blood with a salary envelope and said to her, "Girl, I've taken back what they owed you." Gu Mingming's eyes widened. Then, the image of her falling onto the ground had a huge impact on Gu Mengmeng, so she remembered it very clearly. But Gu Mengmeng and the rest did not know that Snake could only allow this incident to happen in order not to affect Gu Mingming's life. But after that, Bailon was hospitalized using a medical insurance card, but the medicines she used were all imported and could not be reimbursed. The doctors were all experts invited by Snake from overseas, pretending to be ordinary doctors. As for the shop that owed Gu Mengmeng her salary, it was said that the shop owner was addicted to drugs and went bankrupt to buy drugs. In the end, he cut open his own stomach and said that he wanted to sell his organs to buy drugs. Gu Mengmeng did not need to know about these things, and Snake would not tell her either. But towards a friend like Bailon, Snake was still willing to give her some face. After all, during those years when he could not appear, Gu Mengmeng was fortunate to have such a friend by her side. About half an hour later, Zhang Jinqing and the basketball team arrived at the entrance of the amusement park. They rushed over anxiously and asked, "Where is the other party?" Gu Mengmeng and Snake looked at each other in shock. The other party? Who? Zhang Jinqing looked at the two unbelievably calm people and was stunned for a moment. Then he cleared his throat and asked, "You're looking for us so urgently, is it because someone is waiting for you? Why are you blocking us?" Gu Mengmeng stared dumbfounded at Zhang Jinqing, who was holding a baseball bat, and the others, who were wearing finger rings. She was stunned for a moment before she understood. They had received Snake's call and thought that someone was bullying him, so they rushed over to help fight. Gu Mengmeng smiled and waved her hands. No, senior, you've misunderstood. Snake's relative is the caretaker of this amusement park. Today, the amusement park is undergoing maintenance and will not be open to the public. His relative said that he can entertain his friends for an afternoon of free entertainment. That's why Snake called you to invite you over to play with everyone. Zhang Jinqing heaved a sigh of relief and rested the baseball bat on his shoulder. Not knowing whether to laugh or cry, he said, "Oh my F***ck, King thought you were being chased by someone. So you called us out to play." Snake ignored Zhang Jinqing and just looked at Gu Mengmeng unhappily. She called Zhang Jinqing senior. That was supposed to be a title that belonged only to him, but she actually called someone else. Aside from the topic. Chapter 1187. Snake pulled Gu Mingming's hand and stood up. He looked at Zhang Jinqing and said, "There will be more people coming later. Wait here for them, I have something to say to Tu Meng." With that, Snake pulled Gu Mengmeng into the amusement park. The amusement park had already been emptied. Other than the workers standing by the rides, there was no one else. Not far in, there was a 2-story merry-go-round. Snake pushed the door open and pressed Gu Mengmeng into the carriage. Seeing that they were seated, the workers started the game. The merry-go-round was accompanied by romantic music. Gu Mengmeng stared blankly at Snake, who was pressing his hands on her shoulders. He was obviously angry. She asked, "What happened?" "He was fine just now. Call me. Snake said. Gu Meng Meng did not understand. Senior. Snake lowered his head and kissed Gu Meng Meng's lips harshly. It was as if he was punishing her. Until Gu Meng Meng's lips were swollen from his kiss, Snake looked up. His chest was heaving up and down. I am not special to you at all, right? Just like all the other boys in school, just one of your many seniors. Gu Meng Meng's eyes widened. She did not understand. How can that be? You are my boyfriend. This sentence successfully pacified him. Snake's anger was reduced by half. Loosening his grip, Snake sat down beside Gu Meng Meng and said unhappily, but who can tell from the sound of it? You call me Zhan Jin Qing and me the same way. Gu Meng Meng shrugged helplessly. Didn't you give me the title of senior? Snake said, then you can't call others that. Gu Meng Meng said, then what should I call him? Zhan Jin Qing. Brother Zhan. Brother Jin Qing. Snake's face darkened the more Gu Meng Meng spoke. He did not like hearing her call someone else's name. Especially when that name belonged to a male. His temples throbbed. He looked at Gu Meng Meng with a gloomy gaze. Gu Meng Meng burst out laughing. She wrapped her arms around Snake's arm. How about I don't call you senior anymore? I will call you. Ah, Kel. How about that? Snake's anger instantly dropped to zero. He clenched his jaw proudly, but the corners of his lips curled upwards unknowingly. Ah, Kun, sounds so nice. At first, she was unwilling to call him that. He knew that when she called him that, it would be very pleasing to the ear. Ah, Chi, Bailon and the others will be here soon. I want to introduce you to my friends as my boyfriend. Don't make them wait. First impressions are very important, okay? Snake's mood became even better. Tu Meng was willing to introduce him to her friends instead of refusing to acknowledge their relationship and constantly reminding him to keep his distance, making him look like a wild man who could not be seen. Alright, ah hell, let's go. Gu Meng Meng shook Snake's arm and said, if Bailon doesn't see me welcoming her at the door later, she will really take out a 40-meter-long sword to hack me. Elvis did not know what to do with Gu Meng Meng, so he stood up straight and walked out of the carriage with her. Seeing the two of them coming down, the staff pressed the button to stop the game. Only then did Gu Meng Meng and Snake'll walk out together. Chapter 1188. Bailon. Gu Meng Meng called out, then let go of Snake and jogged over to Bailon. She held on to Bailon's arm and smiled fawningly. Say, which one is it? Bailon asked exasperatedly, pointing at the basketball club members who were standing in a row. Gu Meng Meng knew that Bailon was asking which one was her boyfriend. Blushing, she pulled Bailon back and turned to look at Snake. This is my boyfriend, ah Kel. This is my best friend, Bailon. Bailon was stunned for 2 seconds when she saw Snake. Then, she pulled Gu Meng Meng over. Girl, this fellow has nothing but his face. Why did you fall for him? The veins on Snake's forehead twitched. He had lived 2 lifetimes and this was the first time he had heard such an evaluation. Gu Meng Meng broke out in cold sweat at Bailon's words. She shook her head. No, Akel is a very good person. He treats me very well too. Good my ass. Bailon said. Who in the school doesn't know that he is a playboy? If you get together with him, what's the difference between poking a hornet's nest? The incident on the school forum 2 days ago was caused by Mo Bebe's jealousy of you two being together, right? Let me tell you, with your cowardly manner, if you get involved with him, those lascivious bees and butterflies will devour you whole. Moreover, who doesn't know that he is a piece of ice that has been frozen for 10,000 years? He has no taste and does not know romance. His 6 senses are pure and his 4 senses are empty. Damn it, he could become a monk just by changing his hair. You are not even a white bone demon, why are you hanging out with Xuanzang? Bailan pulled Gu Mengmeng back to the basketball club members. Girl, let me tell you, if it was him, I would rather you choose one of these grandsons as your first love. At least if they dare to bully you, I can help you break their 3 legs. Snake pulled Gu Mengmeng back from Bailan's hands. He stared at Bailan with a venomous gaze. A sinister sense of danger loomed over her. Gu Mengmeng was extremely embarrassed. She pushed Snake and said, "Don't be like this. Bailan said that because she doesn't understand you. I will talk to her nicely." "Aw, don't be angry." Bailan said, "See, they've just started dating and you already have to coax him. In the future, won't you let him shit all over your neck?" Gu Mingming's face twitched and she held on to Bailan's hand, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She shot Snake a look and said, "Ah hell, the rule in our hostel is that the boyfriend must treat everyone to drinks on the first meeting. You go and buy it, okay?" Snake did not want to leave Gu Mingming's side even for a second, but he knew that this rule was not something that Gu Mengmeng came up with on the spur of the moment. He wanted to gain the approval of the people around her. Although Bailan had belittled him to the point that he was worthless, he was still someone that Gu Mengmeng cared about, so he could tolerate it. Nodding, Snake gave Zhang Jinqing a look. Zhang Jinqing automatically called everyone in the basketball club over to the Starbucks opposite the amusement park. A caramel macchiato was distributed according to the number of people present. When they returned after buying everything, they saw the few girls chatting and laughing together. The atmosphere was already very good. Snake took a cup of macchiato and passed it to Gu Mengmeng. "Here, drink this. I asked them to add more caramel." Chapter 1189. The dense fog gathered and the television drama stopped at this point. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, "I haven't seen Bailan for a long time, I wonder how she is doing now. I wonder if she has toned down that impulsive personality of hers." The beast deity smiled without replying. Gu Mengmeng stretched lazily and stood up, saying, "Father, I plan to go find the heart of the desert. How much do you know about the legendary Bayan? Can you reveal a little?" The beast deity did not seem surprised by Gu Mingming's question at all and nodded, saying, "Bayan." The beast deity's expression had a tinge of melancholy, which surprised Gu Mengmeng. She tilted her head and asked, "Father, you know him?" The beast deity snapped out of his trance and chuckled, nodding, saying, "Yeah, an old acquaintance." Gu Mingming's eyes brightened, saying, "Then tell me quickly, what likes and dislikes does he have? I heard that he is the guardian of the heart of the desert, I have to build a good relationship with him to obtain the heart of the desert." The beast deity thought about it and shook his head, saying, "He is a very strange person, liking or disliking him all depends on first impressions. As long as he thinks that you are a good person at first glance, then even if you slaughter all the living beings in the world, he will still stand by your side and help you stir up a storm of blood in this world. If he thinks that you are a bad person at first glance, then even if you are the benevolent Guanyin who has descended to the mortal world to save the world, he will not give you a good look." "So?" Gu Mengmeng facepalmed speechlessly, saying, "So he is a capricious uncle who judges others based on his own likes and dislikes." "Uncle?" the beast deity asked. Gu Mengmeng nodded and said matter-of-factly, "You are my father and you are old acquaintances with him. He is one of Wang Xiaoxin's partners, although he was abandoned, but they are still ex-wife and ex-husband, right? Snake is Wang Xiaoxin's son, which means that Bayan is his little father, no matter what, I have to call him uncle, right?" The beast deity chuckled and nodded, rubbing Gu Mingming's head, saying, "Yeah, our daughter is so polite, good upbringing, good upbringing." Speechless, Gu Mengmeng looked at the heavens, saying, "That means whether I can win this uncle's favor depends on luck." The beast deity thought about it, nodding, you can say that. Dad, what's your relationship with this uncle? If I use your face, will it increase the affinity? Gu Mengmeng asked. The beast deity was in a difficult position. I'm afraid the title of the beast deity's daughter is useless in the beast world only in front of him. Dad, you didn't pursue Wang Xiaoxin before, did you? Gu Mengmeng looked at the beast deity in shock. She did not wish for her stepmother to be like Wang Xiaoxin, a goddess who could not be understood by others. She was a psychopath. The beast god rubbed his nose and smiled faintly. I've never pursued Wang Xiaoxin, but I have something to do with her breaking up with Higan. So, you understand. Damn it. Gu Mengmeng felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. In the beast world, how much would the person who separated a husband and wife be hated? Gu Mengmeng did not even dare to think about it. This time, Gu Mengmeng felt that if she dared to admit that she was the daughter of the beast deity, Bian would tear her apart on the spot. Chapter 1190. The beast deity smiled awkwardly. He rubbed his nose. To get the love of the sky, you must first be able to fly. But you and your partner clearly do not possess this ability. Only vultures can bring you to the love of the sky. But the problem is that vultures usually do not appear in places you can reach. As for the spirit of the rocky cliffs, you have no idea at all, right? According to the rules, I cannot reveal anything you do not know, so... Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. So I can only find the heart of the desert now, right? The beast deity nodded. The good news is that Bian knows someone from the vulture tribe. If you can win his favor, he will at least have a way for you to meet them. Gu Mingming's eyes brightened. The vultures boast that they are closest to the sky and the beast deity. So they must be your diehard fans. I'll be able to use your face in front of the vulture race to increase my favorability, right? The beast deity did not know whether to laugh or cry at Gu Mingming's words. She really behaved like his own daughter, willful and mischievous in front of her parents. She did not even care about her words. The arrogant and haughty attitude she had when she was in the beast world was nowhere to be seen. She was just like a spoiled child, crying for her favorite toy in front of her parents. The beast deity rubbed Gu Mingming's little head. Sure. In front of the vulture tribe, go ahead and use your father's name to strut around. Tell them that if they dare to disobey my precious daughter, I will punish all the females in their tribe so that none of them will get pregnant for the next 5 years. Pfft. Gu Mengmeng burst out laughing. Father, you are abusing your power. Won't you be investigated by the Independent Commission Against Corruption? The beast deity poked Gu Mingming's little head. I only watch romance dramas. I don't watch Hong Kong police dramas. I do not know anything about the Independent Commission Against Corruption. But for my precious daughter, I will not hesitate to be investigated. I am your father after all. Gu Mengmeng pounced into the beast deity's arms. Poppy, you are so nice. The beast deity was still smiling benevolently. He patted Gu Mingming's back. All right, hurry and go. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Oh, the same question. Wabi. The beast god shook his head, indicating that he still couldn't say. Gu Mengmeng did not continue speaking. She knew that the beast deity would naturally tell her if he could. He stood up, patted his butt, and said, Dad, I'll be leaving first. Wait. The beast deity stopped Gu Mengmeng and cleared his throat. That world has a song called Sorrow of Separation. Do you know how to sing it? Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and nodded. Yes, that song is quite popular. Dad, do you want to listen? Can I sing for you? The beast deity shook his head. Next time, I'm afraid your little wolf is getting impatient. Gu Meng Meng nodded and hugged the beast deity. Then father, I will leave first. Lying on his back, he was in a weightless free fall. Gu Meng Meng felt that if the current her returned to the modern world, she should be able to play bungee jumping without fear. Opening her eyes, Gu Meng Meng was not in the cave. Instead, she was basking in the sun on the empty ground outside the cave. Chapter 1191. She chuckled. This was the first time Gu Meng Meng had not heard Elvis's gentle greeting after waking up, but little shit's rebuke after an entire winter. Opening her mouth, Elvis reached for a cup of water from the side as if he was already prepared for it. He helped Gu Meng Meng moisten her throat. Gu Meng Meng smiled after drinking the water. That's right, I am going to leave you behind to play alone. So what, are you going to bite me? Wabi-Ai gritted his teeth and glared at her. I came all the way here to find you, and you are going to leave me behind to play alone. Gu Meng Meng, you have no conscience. TSK, a cold-blooded animal like you wants to talk about conscience with me. Did a donkey kick your brain? Gu Meng Meng spoke with no conscience at all. Wabi-Ai stiffened his neck. I don't care, I am going to follow you. Where are you going to play? You must bring me along, or else. I will break the legs of your little wolf pups and wretched foxes. Gu Meng Meng stretched out her slender legs. What's the point of beating my man? Break my legs if you can. I can't beat you. Wabi-Ai admitted confidently. Gu Meng Meng was so amused by Wabi-Ai that she burst into laughter until tears came out. Wiping the corners of her eyes, Gu Meng Meng said, We are going to the desert this time. Do you know what a desert is? No water, dry and hot. This kind of climate is not suitable for you. You will suffer. Wabi-Ai rolled his eyes and laughed in disdain. Where do you think Snake brought me back to the Snake King Valley from? Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. Don't tell me, your hometown is also the Mecca Desert. Also. Wabi-Ai grasped the key word. Gu Meng Meng pointed at Oriton, who was sitting at the entrance of the cave, eagerly waiting for his meal. Him too. Wabi-Ai clicked his tongue. I haven't been back for over 800 years. I didn't know that anyone could enter that place now. Wabi-Ai's image in Gu Meng Meng's eyes instantly grew bigger. Gu Meng Meng blinked at Wabi-Ai and even tried to curry favor with him. Wabi-Ai, do you know Bayan? Are the two of you close? Wabi-Ai nudged Gu Meng Meng in disdain. Speak properly. You are so disgusting. Gu Meng Meng's expression also changed instantly. She gave Wabi-Ai a disdainful shove and looked at Elvis adorably. She pouted her lips and acted cute. Hubby, I'm not cute like this. Elvis's face flushed red and even the tips of his ears turned pink. His throat tightened and his fingers trembled slightly from the intense beating of his heart. He held onto Gu Meng Meng's shoulders and said in a low voice, Other than me and Leah, don't show this expression to anyone else. I will go crazy, understand? Gu Meng Meng's vanity was greatly satisfied. She pounced into Elvis's arms and hugged him tightly. Then, she raised her voice and said in a Lolita voice, Hubby, you're so naughty, you only know how to coax me, thump, thump. Elvis's heartbeat was deafening. Yeah, Gu Meng Meng thought about it. It seemed that after mating, she rarely acted cute in front of Elvis. Chapter 1192. Now that she thought about it, she had really let her guard down. If this was the modern world, wouldn't it be easy for her man to be snatched away? After all, after being married for 2 to 3 years, holding his wife's hand was like holding his left hand with his right hand. If she still couldn't maintain her image, those lascivious men outside would not be easy to deal with. Gu Meng Meng patted Elvis's chest lightly and pressed her cheek against his chest. She said in a normal tone and expression. All right, this is an expression that only belongs to you and Leah. I won't let anyone else see it. Elvis tried his best to breathe before calming down his erratic heartbeat. Gu Meng Meng comforted Elvis before standing up to look at Wabi. Did you see that? This is the reaction of a normal male. What disgusting, TSK, serves you right to be a bachelor for the rest of your life, and the kind that stirred shit. Wabi, who was forced to swallow a mouthful of dog food, refused to converse with Gu Meng Meng. He even rolled his eyes at her. All right, let's talk properly. Gu Meng Meng stopped fooling around and asked directly, hurry up and tell me, are you familiar with Bayan? No, I've never seen him before. Wabi lazily leaned against the seat beside Gu Meng Meng. I was indeed born in the Mecca desert, but when I was born, he was already more than 200 years old. How could I have met him before? But, come to think of it, you were picked up by Snake from the Mecca desert. But why can't he remember anything about you? Gu Meng Meng found it rather strange. There were many things in Snake's memory, but she couldn't seem to recall anything about Wabi. She just felt that he should have been by Snake's side all along, always, and not just met at a certain place and then got together. Wabi scared. I'm not you, why would he remember everything about me so clearly? Moreover, it was 800 years ago when he picked me up. No matter how good his memory is, he can't possibly remember everything so clearly, right? That was true, but he clearly remembered things from even earlier, so why couldn't he remember anything about the Mecca desert? Gu Meng Meng found it rather strange, but didn't probe further. So you can adapt to the desert climate. Of course, is there anything in this world that I can't do? Gu Meng Meng didn't continue provoking Wabi. She thought to herself that Bayan was so crazy that he judged a person based on his mood. If she brought along a powerful person, her chances of winning would be higher if the negotiation failed. He nodded and said, all right, let's go together then. Only then did Wabi's expression soften a little. That's more like it. When are we leaving? Gu Meng Meng looked at Leah and asked, have the people we sent returned? Leah nodded. Qi Xian said he will see to it. Do as you see fit. What should I do as I see fit? Gu Meng Meng frowned, not understanding what her son was thinking. Leah sprawled lazily behind Gu Meng Meng, using his chest as a backrest for her. He played with her hair nonchalantly as he said, Qi Xian is a male and is more mature than the other three. Try to trust him. I don't think he'll let you down. After all, he is also afraid of your ultimate weapon. Chapter 1193. Ultimate Weapon. Mine. What is it? Did Gu Meng Meng have something that could control her entire family? Why didn't she know? Leah bit Gu Meng Meng's ear and said, I am not telling you, what if you use it to bully me? Humph. With that, Leah waved his tail and handed Gu Meng Meng over to Elvis and said, I am going to cook. If I don't, that good-for-nothing tiger will stomp a hole in the ground in our house. After Leah left, Elvis held Gu Meng Meng's hand and hesitated for a moment before asking, did you ask about that matter? Gu Meng Meng nodded and said, Father said yes, but you must become a beast king first. Elvis pursed his lips and then chuckled and said, looks like we are determined to get the heart of the desert. That's why I especially want to know about Bayan. He is the guardian of the heart of the desert, but his judgment of a person depends entirely on his mood. If you can like him, everything will be fine, but if you are hated by him, it would be best if he can voluntarily hand it over. If not, then we will just snatch it. Elvis's tone was calm but firm and filled with absolute confidence. Wabi laughed coldly and said, you can't even defeat me and you still want to fight Bayan. Don't forget, when I was born, he was already at his peak for 200 years. Even Snake did not gain any advantage over him. What makes you think you can do it? Elvis raised his eyebrows and chuckled. If it is to protect Xiao Meng, there is nothing I cannot do. Wabi stretched his arms lazily and said, fight? That's what I was thinking. With that, Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, be good and stay at home. I might be back later today. Let Leah cook for you and don't wait for me, understand? Gu Mengmeng nodded and looked at Wabi and then at Elvis and said, don't destroy Saint Nazaire. So long-winded. Wabi said impatiently and then took the lead to swim away. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and kissed her again before transforming into a wolf and following Wabi. Gu Mengmeng hopped back to Li's side and laid on his back in boredom, watching him cook. She gestured to add more potatoes and more chili. Then, he watched as Oriton burst out into laughter after hearing Gu Mengmeng say to add more chili, but he pretended to be nonchalant. Leo liked it when Gu Mengmeng clung onto him. Ever since she broke up with him, she rarely clung onto him like this. That's right, Elvis was the first partner and he had the absolute priority. And this priority was something he willingly gave up, so he could not fight for it now. Are you at ease to let them go out like that? Leah asked as he added the ingredients that Gu Mengmeng had requested. Gu Mengmeng clicked her tongue and said, little shit knows that Bayan is not easy to deal with, so he is helping Elvis to improve his abilities. The two of them will know when to stop. They won't kill each other. Leah scooped a piece of meat from the pot and blew on it to cool it before sending it into Gu Mingming's mouth. Yeah, we still have quite a lot of medicine for external injuries at home. Let them use it when they return. How does the meat taste? Do you need more salt? Chapter 1194. As they were about to leave, Oriton received special permission to spend the night outside Gu Mingming's cave. He had long gotten used to the life of a vagrant and did not have the habit of not being able to sleep unless he was in his own cave. The temptation of being able to accurately eat every meal prepared by Leah was too great for him, so he gladly agreed to it. Barit and Joshua were called to the vicinity of the cave by Leah to instruct them on things to take note of for the next year. After all, it was uncertain when Gu Mengmeng would return from this trip. Whether it was distributing water during the winter, storing food during the rainy season or preventing other tribes from snatching like the previous rainy season, these were all matters that required finesse. And also, after they left, there would probably be a wave of stray beasts attacking. Leah trusted Barit, but Joshua was still under observation, so Leah did not intend to let Joshua know that the young master of the stray beasts was Qi Xian. So he only said that Gu Mengmeng had arranged for the females to bring their cubs up to the highest mountain in Saint Nazaire to receive the first ray of sunlight for 3 consecutive days. That would be a blessing from the beast deity. However, Maya was pregnant with a precious female cub and the great messenger had special instructions for her to rest well, so she did not need to go this time. Barit had been by Li's side longer than Gu Mengmeng, so he naturally understood what Li's smile meant. Only Maya would receive special treatment? It seemed like there was a special program specially prepared for Maya. After all, Leah had never really cared about the lives of other females other than Gu Mengmeng. I understand. Barit gave a simple reply. Leah patted Barit's shoulder and said, don't forget, your life now belongs to our Mengmeng. Before she agrees, don't die so easily. Barit replied. Joshua clenched his fists, his gaze drifting towards Gu Mengmeng who was sunbathing not far away. But he did not have the courage to go over and greet her, so he could only ask Leah softly, after you leave, when will you return? Leah pretended to think for a moment, then suddenly laughed and said, I don't know. Our itinerary has always been based on Mingming's mood. Whether she wants to go up to the sky or down to the sea, it's up to her. The place she wants to go is our destination. I only follow and don't ask. That's true, she is the messenger of the beast deity, of course she should. You seem to be mistaken. Leo lightly tapped his lips and said, I am indulging her not because she is some messenger of the beast deity, but because she is my female. With that, Leo waved his tail and left without looking back. Joshua could only clench his fists secretly as he watched Leah step into the bright and beautiful land where Gu Mengmeng was. One day, he also wanted to have that kind of strength, to be able to let her do whatever she wanted. That way, he would have the right to be like Leah, walking towards her step by step and saying with a smile, Meng Meng, I'm back. Gu Mengmeng opened her arms and gestured for a hug, while Leah pulled her into his arms, allowing her to mess around in his arms like a kitten. Elvis said he would come back later, but in reality, he did not come back at all that night. Chapter 1195. The two bloodied men supported each other as they limped back under the setting sun. Gu Mingming's vision was blurry and she felt that their blood was all over the ground. Leah rolled his eyes and looked at Gu Mengmeng. You said they knew their limits. They were clearly beating them to death. Oratin and Leah each carried Elvis and Wabiai on their shoulders and placed them where Gu Mengmeng usually basked in the sun. After all, their injuries were too serious. If they were moved into the cave, the smell of blood would linger for a long time. The cave was meant for Gu Mengmeng to stay in and must not be tainted by this smell. Gu Mingming's heart ached, but Wabiai's injuries were not any better than Elvis's, so she could not bring herself to reprimand them. She could only sullenly clean the bleeding wounds with a piece of animal skin dipped in clear water. Don't be angry. Elvis was extremely weak, but he still reached out to hold Gu Mengmeng and coaxed her with a soft voice. Gu Mengmeng pushed Elvis's hand away and said coldly, I am not angry. After washing the animal skin, she continued to clean his wounds. Elvis smiled bitterly. You are not even smiling and you still say you are not angry. You are so badly injured and I still have to smile. Gu Mengmeng growled in a low voice. Elvis frowned and let out a low groan, as if he was in great pain. Gu Mengmeng was shocked and thought that she had touched his wounds with too much force. She anxiously threw away the animal skin and held on to Elvis. What's wrong? Is it very painful? Leah, quickly come over and take a look. Elvis grabbed Gu Mingming's arm and pulled her into his arms. Gu Mengmeng was caught off guard and fell into Elvis's arms. She could even feel a warm liquid flowing on her arm. Damn it, she touched his wounds. But she did not dare to struggle. If she moved now, she would definitely suffer a second injury. Yes, it hurts so much. Elvis's voice was weak and hoarse. He said softly, just a kiss and it will not hurt anymore. With that, Elvis looked up and wanted to kiss Gu Mengmeng. Unfortunately, they were too far apart and he could not reach her no matter how hard he tried. She lay back down dejectedly and said with a sorrowful face, I am still too weak. You are in my arms but I cannot kiss you. I'm really going crazy. Gu Mengmeng pulled her hand away and placed it beside Elvis's ear. Then, she lowered her body and placed her lips on Elvis's lips. The kiss tasted like blood and their tongues intertwined with each other, expressing Gu Mingming's worries and Elvis's comforting words. He kissed Gu Mengmeng until her arms were trembling. She then raised her head and knelt beside Elvis, panting heavily while cleaning his wounds. She gritted her teeth and said fiercely, Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're injured. Wait till you've recovered, then I'll teach you a lesson. But Elvis's lips were still curled up, his gaze filled with tenderness as he gazed at Gu Mengmeng. I got scolded. Would Leah be envious of me again? He always envied some very strange things, such as you throwing potatoes at me, or chasing me out of the cave, or scolding me or twisting my ears. What should I do? I also feel blissful when you scold me. Have I been infected by Leah? Chapter 1196. How do you intend to punish me? Elvis was still smiling. He was seeing double after losing so much blood. It was great that he could see two Gu Meng Meng at the same time. His voice had also become rather ethereal. Even so, it sounded especially nice. He wanted to hear her say a few more words, even if she scolded him. Gu Meng Meng could feel that Elvis was forcing himself to stay awake. He was almost about to faint. Actually, fainting in such a situation was a good thing. That way, his body could enter a better state of hibernation and recovery. Sighing, Gu Meng Meng whispered into Elvis's ear, "If it's especially painful and tired, sleep for a while. I will guard you, It was originally very painful, but after you kissed me, Xiao Meng, it stopped hurting." Elvis's eyelids were really too heavy. He could not hold on any longer and could only slowly close them. He said weakly, "I will sleep for a while. When I wake up, I will accompany you to the Mecca desert, sleep." Gu Meng Meng kissed Elvis's face lightly, then heard his long and even breathing. Wabiai's condition was slightly better than Elvis's. He held on until Elvis fainted before laughing out loud. "I was beaten up by that pervert snake for 800 years. You're still far from being able to withstand my blows." Too far. Wabiai's condition was much better than Elvis. He did not manage to finish his sentence before he fainted. Gu Meng Meng sighed. She could neither cry nor laugh. These two were really too much. Under Lee's care, Elvis and Wabiai slept for 4 days before they woke up. Their wounds healed very well during this period. After all, Wabiai did not use poison when he fought with Elvis. Otherwise, Elvis would not be at this level. When Elvis woke up, Gu Meng Meng was lying beside him, sleeping. Turning his body, Elvis gently carried Gu Meng Meng onto the bed, letting her lie comfortably in the crook of his arm. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly and her delicate brows were knitted together. Elvis's heart ached as he gently smoothed her brows. His heart was filled with guilt. She must have frowned in her dream because he was injured and unconscious. But he had no choice, he had to become stronger. Otherwise, even if he successfully obtained the heart of the desert in the Mecca desert, he would not be able to withstand the immense pressure of activating the Beast King bloodline. What would she do if he exploded in front of Gu Meng Meng? He and Leia knew how desperate she was when Snake died, and how long it took for her to recover from the gloom. He swore that he would never let Gu Meng Meng experience that kind of sadness again. Therefore, he had to become stronger. He had to become someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with her. Only then would he be able to support her when the sky collapsed. Right now, these injuries were nothing. They were really nothing. As long as it was for her, no matter how much pain or how heavy the injury, he would be able to endure it with a smile. As long as he could see her when he opened his eyes, no matter how long he was in a coma, it would be enough. Chapter 1197. Perhaps she was too exhausted, but Gu Meng Meng slept exceptionally soundly. She only woke up the next day at dawn. Gu Meng Meng instinctively frowned as she felt a familiar warmth beside her. She seemed to have fallen asleep beside Elvis, but she wrapped her arms around Elvis's waist and touched it. This feeling, opening her eyes, she met Elvis's deep blue eyes and warm and doting gaze. His lazy and hoarse voice, unique to the morning, mixed with his warm breath, blew onto Gu Meng Meng's face. "Morning, my Xiao Meng." With that, Elvis kissed Gu Meng Meng's forehead lightly. Gu Meng Meng's lips curled up as she hugged Elvis fiercely. Burying her face in his chest, she sighed. "You are finally awake, you big lazy worm." "Yeah, I am a big lazy worm." Elvis enjoyed Gu Meng Meng throwing herself into his arms. He allowed her to burrow into his embrace, as if she had tunneled right through his chest and into his heart. So early in the morning, isn't it disgusting? Wobby-Eye had woken up a day earlier than Elvis. He was leaning against the wall, watching the two of them out of the corner of his eye. Gu Meng Meng turned back to glance at Wobby-Eye. She harumphed fiercely and ignored him. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng's little face that was pretending to be fierce and felt that it was extremely adorable. He pinched her and shook her a few times, then placed her in his palms and kissed her, saying, "I am almost fully recovered, shall we set off after breakfast?" Gu Meng Meng looked up at Elvis. "You just woke up. Don't you need to rest?" "Yeah. I'm fine." Gu Meng Meng nodded. She then got up to wash up and eat breakfast. In the 4 days that Elvis and Wobby-Eye were unconscious, Fei Rui had already returned from the deep sea. Other than sea salt, he had also brought many small items from the sea for Gu Meng Meng. For example, beautiful shells, pearls of good color, beautiful corals and some seafood. Oratin was not very interested in pearls and corals. But for seafood, yeah, his eyes lit up. Seafood was different from other food, it could not be stored for too long, so Leah decided to make seafood for premature births. Seeing that Leah was about to roast the fish on a tree branch, Gu Meng Meng hurriedly stopped him. "The last time we were at the beach, we didn't have enough cooking utensils. Now that we have everything at home, who would want to eat grilled fish? Go, set up the pot and boil some water." "All right." Leah did not ask why and just did as Gu Meng Meng said. Gu Meng Meng used rattan to weave an irregular drawer and placed it in the stone pot as a separate layer. Then, she placed the fish on the bamboo plate and smeared some sea salt on the fish. She added some ginger and chili in the belly before placing it on the drawer to steam. He felt his pulse and calculated the time. A normal person's heart rate was about 75 beats per minute. In modern times, farmed fish were boiled and steamed for 7 minutes. The flesh of saltwater fish was relatively tight, so it probably wouldn't be cooked in 7 minutes. In that case, it should be ready in 10 minutes. So Gu Meng Meng counted one by one, and when she counted to 750, she opened the lid of the pot and used a pair of chopsticks to pick at the belly of the fish. Realizing that there were still traces of blood on the bones, she covered it again and steamed it for another 2 minutes before taking it out of the pot. Chapter 1198. Leah wouldn't let Gu Meng Meng carry the fish from the pot for fear of scalding her little hands. After placing the fish on the dining table, Gu Meng Meng used her chopsticks to break the fish into pieces before distributing them to everyone. She only steamed one fish. If she didn't distribute it like that, the males wouldn't move their chopsticks and let her eat it alone. But this fish was not even enough to fill the gaps between the 5 males' teeth. It was just a taste at most. Oratin's eyes lit up. This made Gu Meng Meng wonder if Oratin was really a tiger. Wasn't he just reminding the bigger cats? Leah was also satisfied after eating. He sucked on his chopsticks and said, "Fei Rui brought a few more fish. Anyway, we will be on our way after this meal. Why don't I steam all of them?" Oratin nodded out of reflex. Gu Meng Meng smiled helplessly and said, "But the fish is too big and the pot is too small. I can only steam one fish at a time." "When will you be able to eat?" Leah rubbed Gu Meng Meng's little head and said, "Silly girl, have you forgotten? I am a male. It's fine not to eat for a few days." Ah, the eating habits of the beast world, but thinking about it, it would be a waste not to eat the fish that Fei Rui brought from afar. She nodded and said, "Then shall I help you time it?" "All right." Leah added some more water to the pot and started to steam the fish after boiling. Gu Meng Meng sat beside him and felt her pulse to help him time it. Oratin held on to Fei Rui's shoulders and said, "Bring more next time, more." Fei Rui was actually a little afraid of land beasts. His heart was pounding when Oriton pressed down on him like a primary school student being blackmailed by a senior. His clear eyes were glistening with tears and he looked like he was about to cry. Gu Meng Meng walked over and pushed Oriton. "TSK, don't scare him. If you scare him so much that he won't dare to come back in the future, you won't even be able to eat a single fish scale." This was a very serious matter. Oriton looked at Fei Rui with a deep gaze and then bared his teeth. "What? You still want to bite him?" Gu Meng Meng looked at Oriton in shock. Oriton closed his mouth and returned to his expressionless face. He said, "I'm giving him a friendly smile." "Pfft. Big brother, your gums are showing. Is that a smile? Isn't that a threat before the war?" Gu Meng Meng turned back to look at Fei Rui, who was hiding behind her and clutching onto the corner of her shirt with his little hands. "Look at how frightened little Fei Rui is." "Sorry." Oriton took a step back and said, "I can't control my facial expressions." Gu Meng Meng turned back and patted Fei Rui's shoulder. "Don't be afraid of him, he is easy to bully. If he does something that makes you unhappy, just say, 'I won't bring fish back for you to eat anymore,' and he'll be obedient." Fei Rui nodded seriously, then looked at Oriton and said softly, "Don't bully me. I'll bring more fish back next year." Oriton's eyes lit up. After which, he cautiously nodded his head and said, "I will protect you in the future." Fei Rui looked at Gu Meng Meng and pursed his lips before replying, "All right, thank you." Gu Meng Meng smiled and didn't say a word. She snuggled back into Elvis's arms and picked up the fish from his bowl to feed him. She said, "Eat the fish while it's hot. It'll taste fishy when it's cold." Chapter 1199. The fish was stuffed into Gu Meng Meng's mouth. She swallowed it in amusement and said, "Isn't Leah steaming it? There are still a few more. You should try it too, it's quite delicious." Elvis kissed Gu Meng Meng's lips and his nimble tongue explored her mouth wantonly. He only released her after a long while. His fingers gently caressed the sparkles at the side of her mouth and he smiled. "Yeah, it's quite delicious." Gu Meng Meng pouted delicately. Annoying. She didn't say anything else. After Leah steamed all the fishes that Fei Rui brought, everyone ate to their heart's content before preparing to set off. Elvis and Leah had already prepared everything they needed for the journey. Gu Meng Meng only needed to bring herself along. Barit and Joshua led the entire tribe to send Gu Meng Meng to the boundary of the tribe. They watched her leave before returning. "That little fish just arrived and you threw him aside. TSK, Meng Meng, you're really heartless." Leah wagged his tail and laughed. "You even ate the fish that he brought and accepted his gifts. You want everything but him. Meng Meng, you're so bad." Gu Meng Meng smacked Leah. "Don't spout nonsense. Fei Rui did not give me those things with the intention of what you said. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to accept them." "Oh. If it's not that kind of intention, then tell me, why would a male bring food and toys from afar for a female?" Gu Meng Meng thought for a while. "It's probably similar to returning home for the new year and returning to the company to give local specialties to colleagues he's closer to. It's just that their home is in the deep sea, so the specialties he brought are more expensive." Company, colleagues, returning home for the new year, no one present understood what she meant. But seeing that Gu Meng Meng clearly had no intentions towards Fei Rui, Leah and Elvis didn't mention it again. After all, if they talked too much, what if Gu Meng Meng really fell in love with that fellow? The distance between the Mecca desert and Saint Nazaire was quite far. With Gu Meng Meng's attitude of walking and having fun at the same time, she would need about a month to get there. Fortunately, among the 4 males in the team, Elvis and Lee's tolerance towards Gu Meng Meng was limitless. Although they really wanted the heart of the desert, they were not in a hurry. They did not want Gu Mengmeng to be exhausted and run around for the heart of the desert. Being able to see her smiling face was more precious than anything else. Wabi was even simpler. He didn't care about the heart of the desert. Every now and then, he would provoke Gu Mengmeng, causing her to swing her arms and fight him or use her little mouth to make him speechless. That itself was very interesting, so it didn't matter where they quarreled. As for Oriton, as long as there was meat to eat, he didn't care about anything else. It had been a long month of travel, but with the company of his lover and friends, it didn't seem so difficult. When Gu Mengmeng stood at the border of the Mecca desert, she felt a scorching and dry sensation from the soles of her feet. Looking around, it was all gold-like sand. There were no majestic buildings and not even a trace of life. But it was this boundlessness that deeply shocked Gu Mengmeng. Chapter 1200. Occasionally, the wind would blow sand into Gu Mengmeng's eyes, and when the wind was stronger, the sand would act like sharp hidden weapons, even leaving streaks of blood on Gu Mengmeng's face. Elvis's heart ached, so he could only use the beast skin to cover Gu Mengmeng. Although it's very hot, bear with it, alright? Gu Mengmeng lay on Elvis's shoulder, looking listless. Although she was mentally prepared, the temperature had gradually risen along the way, so she wouldn't feel unbearable because of the sudden high temperature. However, the desert's climate was really harsh, and it was more torturous than she had imagined. Elvis and Leah did not want Gu Mengmeng to be exposed to such a terrible environment, so the four males decided to travel day and night to Fedaden City to meet Bayan as soon as possible. But there were no landmarks in the desert, and although Wabi was born here, he had not been back for 800 years. He was used to the humid climate outside, and although it was not to the extent that he could not bear it, it was still uncomfortable. Looking at the snakeskin that was about to split open, Wabi despised himself in his heart. TSK, he had really lived like a prince for the past 800 years. Although Oriton had left for a shorter time than Wabi, he did not return after leaving. Now, he was relying on his childhood memories, so it was difficult for him to find Fedaden City quickly and accurately. After wandering in the desert for 3 days, the food they had prepared along the way had already been exhausted. Oriton said that they would be able to reach Fedaden City in the evening, so it was just a situation where they missed out on lunch. Gu Mengmeng felt that it was bearable. Elvis and Leah were worried that Gu Mengmeng would starve, so they simply transformed into beasts to speed up their journey. However, they had not gone far when they saw a group of rattlesnakes fighting with a group of scorpions. Gu Mengmeng patted Elvis, signaling him to stop, before lying down and watching from a distance. So there are group fights in the desert too. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, "Lunch is settled." "What are you doing?" Wabi looked at Gu Mengmeng in shock. Gu Mengmeng raised her eyebrows and let out 2 hissing noises. The fighting rattlesnakes were stunned, before they scattered in all directions. The scorpions were stunned, as they had never encountered such a situation before. He was stunned for 2 seconds and wanted to give chase, but he found that he was already surrounded. Wabi swung his snake tail and knocked them out on the spot. Gu Mengmeng ran over happily and picked up the scorpion that was as big as the size of 2 palms without its tail and claws. She broke off its pincers, head and tail one by one, then wrapped them up with the snake's skin and placed them on the surface of the sand to roll around. Because the temperature of the sand on the surface of the desert was extremely high, the scorpion was basically cooked after a few rounds. Gu Mengmeng smiled like a demon in the journey to the west. Shaking her shoulders, she opened the snake's skin and peeled off the scorpion's shell. The aroma of meat wafted out. Gu Mengmeng grinned and handed one to Wabi, then looked apologetically at the other 3 males, especially at Oriton, whose eyes were shining brightly as he swallowed his saliva. "These scorpions are poisonous." Besides Wabi and I, the rest of you will be in danger if you eat them. Sorry, bear with it. Wait till we reach Fedatin City before you eat. Chapter 12:01. After eating, Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and continued their journey towards Fedatin City. Before the sun had set, they successfully reached the city gates. So it really is a city. Gu Mengmeng looked at the city walls built with large bricks. Although it was so weathered that it probably could not even withstand a single punch from Gu Mengmeng, it still looked like the kind that archaeologists would risk their lives to dig in. Someone was sitting on the city gates. He looked down at Gu Mengmeng and the rest. When he saw Gu Mengmeng, he frowned and sneered. You dare to bring a female here? Do you have blind confidence in your own abilities, or are you just plain stupid? Gu Mengmeng tilted her head to look at Oritin. She asked in a small voice, what rules? Oritin rolled his eyes at the person on the city walls. He has been under the sun for too long and his brain has melted. You don't have to care about him. Pfft. Gu Mengmeng laughed softly. I haven't heard you use such a venomous tongue to rebuke someone in a long time. Oritin glanced at Wabi. Poisonous snake. Isn't the poisonous snake Wabi? He is clearly a tiger. He did not refute Gu Mengmeng because if he provoked her, Leah would not cook meat for him. Let's go in. I'm hungry. Oritin said and led the way in. As soon as he crossed the city gate, unfriendly gazes came from all directions. It felt like he was a lost lamb that had entered the hinterland of the Amazon. Even a mosquito looked at him as if he was food. Wabi twitched his lips. Sigh, so annoying, can we eat them? Gu Mengmeng patted Wabi's shoulder. Bear with it for a while. Find Bayan first. Once Gu Mengmeng said that, the entire world quietened down. It was not an exaggeration to say that even the sound of the clouds drifting in the sky could be heard clearly. Bayan was a name that could not be mentioned here. Gu Mengmeng had this understanding. Why would a person whose life and death were unknown for 1,000 years become a taboo topic? Gu Mengmeng could not understand. Looking for me. A cold voice came from not far away. It was just two simple words, but Gu Mengmeng could feel the surrounding temperature dropping. The covetous gaze seemed to have disappeared in an instant. Gu Mengmeng could clearly feel that the person hiding in the dark was slipping away like sand in her hand, obvious but untraceable. Looking towards the source of the voice, a tall and sturdy man was leisurely walking towards them from afar. He had a smile on his face and his eyes were cold. His entire body exuded a sinister feeling that could not be underestimated. That feeling had nothing to do with anger, and he did not emit any beast pressure either. It was just a strange magnetic field, as if he was a 10,000-year-old evil ghost that had walked out of hell. Even the sun could not shine on his body. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and took a step back. Leah used half of his body to shield Elvis, while Oritin and Wabi were already prepared for battle. Just 2 words and everyone's nerves were stretched to the limit. That person walked towards Gu Mengmeng step by step, with no intention of stopping. He did not even pause for a second when he reached Wabi and Oritin. Wabi and Oritin were immediately sent flying. Even though Gu Mengmeng had the powers of a beast king, she did not even see how he had done it. Chapter 12:02. Aren't you afraid of me? The man didn't answer Gu Mengmeng's question but threw out another one. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, yeah, not really. Because you are the Beast King and feel that you are powerful enough. Not really. Gu Mengmeng smiled and shook her head. One thing that could not be denied was that this Lord Bayan gave Gu Mengmeng a sense of oppression that she had never felt before. She had always been afraid of snakes and fainted the first time she saw a snake. But even then, she did not have this kind of fear. The feeling of being surrounded by darkness and not being able to breathe freely but being unable to resist was terrible, but it was not a feeling of fear that made her want to escape or beg for mercy. So, it was not that she was not afraid, just not very afraid. Then why? Bayan seemed to be very interested in Gu Mengmeng and said patiently, "Everyone is very afraid of me, so you should be too. Or, will you be afraid of me after I break your limbs and eat them in front of you?" Once Bayan said that, Elvis and Lee's muscles tensed up. Elvis shielded Gu Mengmeng behind him and showed his fangs and claws. Bayan did not even look at them and just smiled at Gu Mengmeng and said, "Why don't I eat your partners first, then your limbs?" Gu Mengmeng twitched her mouth and asked with a smile, "Should I be more cooperative now and act like I am shivering?" Bayan was stunned for a moment and seemed to be a little surprised. But it did not last long and he quickly regained his normal expression and said, "Yeah, everyone is usually scared to death when they see me. It has been a long time since I used words to threaten others. Yeah, seems like I am really rusty. Indeed, using words is not suitable for me, it is better to use force directly." As Bayan said that, he grabbed Lee's neck and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a cruel smile on his face that was so sinister that even his facial features could not be seen clearly. He said, "I have not eaten a fox for a long time, I want to tell Wang Xiaoxin that you bullied me." Gu Mengmeng said in a lukewarm tone. Then, Bayan's expression cracked. "You know her." Leo was flung to the side by Bayan. He took a step forward and pushed Elvis away. Then, he gripped Gu Mengmeng's shoulders with both his hands, as if he was a withered ghostly hand that reached out from hell and dragged Gu Mengmeng's body with all his might, wanting to drag her into hell. "Did she ask you to come?" "Really?" Gu Mengmeng pushed against Bayan's hand in an attempt to struggle free, but strangely, the moment she touched him, she could not use her Beast King powers at all. Right now, she was even weaker than an ordinary girl before she inherited Snake's powers. What the hell is going on? Her son and I are lovers, do you think we know each other? Since brute force did not work, Gu Mengmeng could only resort to using her wits. Bayan narrowed his eyes and said, "The Beast King power in your body belongs to Snake." It was not a question, but a statement. "You know my boyfriend. It shouldn't be a big mistake to impersonate himself from another spacetime, right? That little brat gave you the tear of the beast god." Higgin chuckled and shook his head helplessly. "He's just like his father." Gu Mengmeng's shoulders regained their freedom and she clenched her fists. The power of a Beast King was still there. So, she could not touch him. Once she did, she would lose all her strength. Chapter 1203. Alright, since the hard way did not work, she would try the soft way. "Uncle Bayan, hello, I am Snake's girlfriend Gu Mengmeng, the new messenger of the beast deity. I come from the same place as your beloved female Wang Xiaoxin. These two are my partners, the snake over there is a friend snake picked up from this place and that tiger was also born here. Get lost." Bayan turned around coldly and said, "I will let you go on account that you are the one that fellow likes. Don't come again, or else." Bayan turned back slightly and just glanced at Gu Mengmeng, that feeling made her shudder. That was a murderous aura, one that was not concealed at all. Damn, using her father's words, she messed up the first impression, right? What did he ask her when he was agitated just now? Did he know Wang Xiaoxin? Yes, she replied that she knew him. Was that why he listened to her patiently? Then, the second problem was, she was the one who asked me to find you. Gu Mengmeng decided to take a gamble. As expected, Bayan stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Gu Mengmeng, saying, "Then, prove it." That was a look that said, "You are dead meat if you dare to lie to me, making Gu Mingming's hair stand on end. Prove. How? If they were indoors, Gu Mengmeng could consider releasing the fox's seductive fragrance and bewitching Bayan. But they were outdoors. How much fox seductive fragrance would she need to bewitch a pervert? Clenching her teeth, Gu Mengmeng quickly searched for useful information in her mind. Damn, there was too little information available. Wait a minute. Gu Mengmeng suddenly recalled something. The last time she woke up from her dream, her father asked out of nowhere, "Do you know how to sing Sorrow of Separation?" At that time, she said she did, and the beast deity looked very pleased. She asked if she wanted to sing it for him, but that old man said no. Could it be? Damn it, let's take a gamble. I should be leisurely in the pugilistic world, drinking a pot of wine, looking at the sorrow of hundreds of flowers in my drunken stupor. Gu Mingming's knowledge of this song came from TikTok, so she did not know how to sing the A part. She could only sing from the climax and observe Bayan's reaction as she sang. Don't leave a beautiful woman to wait for you on a wild trip outside the pass. How high is your love in your dreams? Damn it, I only know a few lines, but why is Higgins so calm and unresponsive? Was he right or wrong? It should be correct, right? Otherwise, with his temper, he would have already strangled her to death or turned around to leave. It was impossible for him to stand there and stare at her as if someone had poked his acupoints. The curtain has fallen on prosperity. It's hard for me to express my heartfelt feelings. Last night, I saw the man who abandoned me. Bayan turned around and stood in front of Gu Mengmeng. He said coldly, "Move. Action." So Gu was right. Did Higgin and Wang Xiaoxin have an agreement, and the secret code was Sorrow of Separation? Driven by him. But what action? She knew a few lines of the lyrics, but who knew what god Wang Xiaoxin had danced? He gritted his teeth. Now that he was riding a tiger, it was hard to get off. If he said that he was lying now, he would probably die a worse death than before. Making up her mind, Gu Mengmeng decided to give it a try and use the part of TikTok that the god had danced, Sorrow of Separation. Gu Mengmeng had never thought that one day, her addiction to TikTok could help her at a critical moment. Chapter 1204. After dancing for about 30 seconds, Gu Mengmeng demonstrated all the moves she learned from TikTok. Then, she clenched her right fist and made a "thank you" gesture with her left palm. She looked calm on the surface, but Gu Mengmeng was extremely frustrated on the inside. Damn it, would she expose herself? If she could not exert any strength after touching him, she would definitely be a weakling. Bayan leaned forward and suddenly smiled. That smile changed the atmosphere of the entire world. The sunlight seemed to shine through the haze, gradually dispersing the coldness. Wouldn't it have been better if you had said she called you over? How naughty. She passed just like that. Gu Mengmeng could not keep up with his pace, but she did not say much. She just helped Elvis and Leah, who were sent flying by Bayan, up before following behind him. So Uncle Bayan, can you give me the heart of the desert? Yeah, I will give it to you. Bayan smiled faintly. It was clearly just a slight smile, but somehow, Gu Mengmeng felt that Bayan looked very blissful. He was completely different from the person who was at the peak of hell just a moment ago. The entire scene had instantly turned into heaven. It was as if he could play the role of Cupid if he had a pair of wings. Just a person called over by Wang Xiaoxin could make him so happy. Could it be that a man who had been single for thousands of years could orgasm just by hearing his ex-wife's name? Gu Mengmeng could not understand, but she still followed behind Bayan and asked, "Then when will you give it to me?" Bayan stopped in his tracks and turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng. His eyes narrowed into a line and the corners of his lips curved up so beautifully. He reached out his large hand and caressed Gu Mengmeng's little head. "Don't be anxious, I will give it to you after I settle some matters." "Oh." Gu Meng Meng nodded. Thinking about it, he must have his own matters to settle, right? She was also embarrassed to ask him to bring her to find the item first. After all, her father had already said that the reputation of the messenger of the beast deity was not worth a single cent to him. A second-generation immortal like her was just a fart in his eyes. Gu Meng Meng did not want to drop because of Wang Xiaoxin, so she said very sensibly, then let's find a place to settle down first. When Uncle Bian is free, you can bring us to find the heart of the desert. Higgins shook her head. No, you must stay with me at all times. Ah. Gu Meng Meng was shocked. Did she meet a pervert? Damn, a 1,000-year-old demon snake had already caused Gu Meng Meng to break down, now there was another one, and it was her boyfriend's stepfather. This was going to be incest. No, no. This really won't do. Bian looked at Gu Meng Meng's guarded expression and could not help but smile. You really resemble her. How long has it been since I last saw such a reaction? Yeah, it's been 1,000 years. Don't worry, no matter how similar you are, I'm not interested if you're not her. I want you to stay with me because I must personally ensure your safety. I've waited for 1,000 years. I can't let anything happen to him under my watch. Chapter 1205. Gu Meng Meng put on the demeanor of a well-behaved junior and said, You may not believe it, but my partners and I are actually quite powerful. As long as the opponent is not you, at least we can protect ourselves without any problems. Bai An's smile did not change, but his aura changed subtly. Gu Meng Meng could even clearly feel the haze that had just been dispersed by the sun gathering again. Disobedient children will be punished. Bai An's voice was cold and almost emotionless as he said, I don't like people disobeying me, understand? Uncle Bian, you are right. Gu Meng Meng smiled obsequiously and said, Why would we need to compete when we have such a powerful backer? Uncle, please take care of us, good girl. Bian chuckled and turned to continue walking. Gu Meng Meng wiped the sweat off her forehead and patted the sullen faces of Elvis and Leah. It's all right, it's all right. Elders are all like this. Bian brought Gu Meng Meng back to a building. How should she describe it? Gu Meng Meng's first reaction when she saw the building was to hang a banner with the words Dragon Gate written on it. Damn it, one look and she knew it was a scam. Did they sell barbecued pork buns or something like that? Bai An's jaw moved a little and there was a slight sound of bones rubbing against each other. Gu Meng Meng did not know what he was doing, but in a short while, many scorpions swarmed over like a tide. Damn it! Gu Meng Meng was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat and jumped into Elvis's arms. Wabiai immediately revealed his true form and lifted his head high. He then used his tail to wrap Elvis up and placed him on his head to widen the distance between Gu Meng Meng and the scorpions. Gu Meng Meng still screamed. It was an earth-shattering aura. She was not afraid of scorpions, but she was scared of a bunch of scorpions. Gu Meng Meng had goosebumps all over her body as she kicked her legs in Elvis's arms, as if she was trying to fling something out of Elvis's arms. Gu Meng Meng's hair stood on end as she felt goosebumps all over her body. Gu Meng Meng screamed until she could no longer make a sound. She closed her eyes tightly and grabbed onto Elvis's arm, screaming hysterically. Xiao Meng, it's all right now. It's all right now. Elvis patted her back gently to comfort her. Gu Meng Meng screamed until she was almost out of breath. She only calmed down after hearing Elvis's words and opened her eyes carefully. What the F***CK? I'm looking into Higgins' eyes. It's scarier than looking at countless scorpions crawling on my body. It was like sitting by the window looking at the night view and suddenly seeing a ghost. I called you over because I thought you liked it. Why are you so scared? Ha, there are actually people who are afraid of food. You are really strange. Bian stood up and distanced himself from Gu Meng Meng. Then, he stomped his feet lightly and said, "Put her down, she's not screaming anymore." In front of Higgin, Wobbeye's temper was as docile as a snake in the zoo for the tourists to take pictures of. He lowered his head and lay on the ground obediently. Only after Bayan and Elvis jumped down did Wobbeye revert to his human form. Gu Meng Meng thought about it. The only time she ate a scorpion in the beast world was this afternoon. So, did Bayan see it then? You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.